The 2024 presidential election brought familiar whispers. Military service, once a guaranteed asset, was now contentious. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, faced scrutiny. His National Guard service, a point of pride, was dissected. Republicans accused him of inflating his record. This debate struck a chord with many. It highlighted a shifting landscape in American politics. The weight of military experience on a candidate's resume seemed less clear. Professor Wayne Lesperance noted the irony. Scrutiny of Walz's service underscored its rarity. The last veteran to hold the presidency was George W. Bush, back in 2008. This election cycle presented a stark contrast to the past. Neither Kamala Harris nor Donald Trump had served in the military. This was a far cry from the decades following World War II. Back then, veterans were practically shoo-ins for the Oval Office. Truman, Eisenhower, Nixon, all had worn the uniform. The question now loomed: did military service still resonate with voters? For generations, Americans held a firm belief. The commander-in-chief, they felt, should know the realities of war firsthand. This wasn't just about experience, it was about trust. Military service demonstrated patriotism and leadership. This belief was deeply rooted in the nation's history. The draft during World War II and Vietnam meant military service was common. It connected presidents with the citizens they swore to protect. The draft ended in 1972. The pool of veterans shrunk. In 2023 alone, they were short 41,000 recruits. It was a societal issue. The connection between the military and the government was fraying. Jeremy Tigan, an Air Force veteran and political science professor, offered a different perspective. The decline in veteran candidates, he argued, wasn't due to public disinterest. It was simple math. Fewer veterans meant fewer potential candidates. This demographic shift had created a disconnect. Civilians and the military were growing further apart. The impact on how Americans perceived their leaders was undeniable. The nature of warfare itself had changed. Gone were the days of large-scale deployments like Vietnam. Modern conflicts were different. They were fought with drones and special forces, often shrouded in secrecy. This shift made it harder for veterans to connect with the public. Their experiences, once relatable, now seemed distant. Section 4. Shifting Tides: Public Perception and the Vietnam Legacy. The Vietnam War cast a long shadow on American politics. Veterans returning from that conflict were not always greeted as heroes. Many faced scorn and judgment. This was a stark contrast to the reverence shown to World War II veterans. John McCain and John Kerry, both Vietnam veterans who ran for president, felt the sting of this shift. Their service, once a badge of honor, was twisted into a liability. Smear campaigns targeted their records. The public, once united in support of veterans, was now divided. Rory Riley Topping, a lawyer specializing in veterans affairs, saw this as a turning point. The Vietnam War, she argued, fundamentally changed how Americans viewed veterans. The image of the battle-hardened leader was replaced by something else. Veterans were now seen as victims, struggling with trauma and mental health issues. This perception, once established, proved difficult to shake. Section 5. Beyond the Battlefield: The Rise of Diverse Leadership. The traditional path to the presidency had also evolved. It used to be a straight-line military service followed by a stint in local or state politics. But Christian Grosz, a political science professor, observed a new trend. Candidates were emerging from all walks of life: lawyers, business leaders, activists. Their resumes were no longer bound by tradition. This diversification was particularly evident in the rise of female candidates. Women like Hillary Clinton, Nikki Haley, and Kamala Harris shattered glass ceilings. They challenged the very notion of what a president should look like. This shift signaled a changing electorate, one more accepting of diverse backgrounds. Military service, while still valued, was no longer the only path to power. Section 6. Enduring Value: Military Service in the 21st Century. Despite these changes, military service retained its allure. A 2016 Pew Research Center poll revealed a telling statistic. Military experience was the most desirable trait in a president. It outranked religion, business acumen, even experience in government. This enduring appeal stemmed from the values associated with service: patriotism, sacrifice, duty. These qualities resonated with voters, especially those who held the military in high regard. Political campaigns understood this. They often highlighted candidates' military backgrounds, hoping to forge a connection with voters. While military service might not be the deciding factor it once was, it still held sway. In tight elections where every vote counted, it could be the difference between victory and defeat. The political landscape might have changed, but the values embodied by military service remained woven into the fabric of American identity.